Hi, I am Reverend Belinda Gentry, the missions pastor of First Baptist Church of Glenarden. So excited today to bring to you this 4-part series on Alzheimer's awareness. We call it The Power of Love. This series is brought to you as a collaboration between several partners. First Baptist Church of Glenarden Missions Ministries Department, also First Baptist Church of Glenarden's Alzheimer's Support Group, Dementia Friendly America Prince George's County, Picket Fences Senior Services Incorporated, and Visiting Angels of Largo, Maryland. The facilitators of the sessions are determined to make as many people as possible aware of not only the effects of dementia, but particularly Alzheimer's, and give you resources to help you deal with this disease. At the end of each session, there will be a resource slide. Be sure to take a screenshot so that you can get the help that you need. I am so excited to present to you this morning Irma Nicholson. She is the brain and passion behind this series. And God used her to ensure that you would be able to get the information and the resources that you need. Irma is an advocate, serious advocate for dementia and Alzheimer's. She is a caregiver, and she is a member of First Baptist Church Glenarden Alzheimer's Support Group, the Hope Ministry, and Dementia Friendly America Prince George's County initiatives. So let me just turn it over to Irma so she can tell you how this all came about. Irma?
Good morning. At the beginning of this year, God gave me a burning desire to share my journey and to help other caregivers who may be dealing with Alzheimer's and individuals who might have Alzheimer's and not be aware. So I shared my passion with Vicki Kalinsky and Shonda Bellamy and asked them their ideas about this matter because it was such a passion to me, and I want to know their thoughts since we all are a part of Dementia Friendly America initiative. I had such a passion about this that I shared my thoughts with Reverend Belinda Gentry, and as a result of this, Alzheimer's 2020, The Power of Love was birthed out. We hope to inspire you, uplift you, give you resources, educate you, give you support and resources so you can deal with the everyday issues dealing with Alzheimer's. And with the guidance of God, we can make it through each day. Thank you.
So that was great, and you could feel Irma's passion as she spoke. And you'll hear more from Irma in part 4 of the series, when she and a few of her friends who are caregivers will share with you from their heart their journey. So enjoy the series. We are grateful to bring it to you because we know that this is the time and this is the season for you to know what to do and where to get help.
Good morning. I would like to thank all of you who have taken the time to watch the previous 3 series, Alzheimer's 2020, The Power of Love. Until there's a cure, then there's care. As I stated at the beginning of the series, how God gave me a burning desire to share my journey and to help other caregivers who was dealing with Alzheimer's and didn't know what to do, and also to help individuals who had Alzheimer's and not be aware of it. I shared my vision with Shonda Bellamy and Vicki Kalinsky and asked their opinion on this matter because we all were a part of the Dementia Friendly America initiative. I had such passion about this that I shared it with Reverend Belinda Gentry, who is a mentor to me. And as a result of this, Alzheimer's 2020, Until There's a Cure, There's Care, was birthed out. As discussed by Vicki Kalinsky in the last series, there was 6 valuable gems, and these gems might be some of the gems that your loved ones might have. It was a sapphire, a diamond, an emerald, an amber, a pearl, and a ruby. So now I'm going to present the caregiver's perspective. And our first presenter is Rosalind Morgan, who is an advocate. She's an author, a playwright, a member of the First Baptist Support Group, and she's a friend. Rosalind.
Thank you, Irma. This is an honor to speak about my experience with Alzheimer's, dealing with my mother, and dealing with our family with the disease. Alzheimer's changed my mother in a major way. I cared for my mother from September 2000 until the night she passed was November 2007. She was an amazing woman, soft-spoken, caring, loving, always helping others, easy to talk to, and just so much more. My parents relocated to my mother's hometown in Darlington, South Carolina in 1983 after living here in the Washington, D.C. area for 30 years. 8 months later, my father passed unexpectedly of a massive heart attack. My brother and I was concerned about our mother, but she kept it moving, staying active at church, helping others, just enjoying life. My mother started exhibiting the signs of Alzheimer's about 15 years later. In the summer of 1999, when it was time for my children to go visit Grandma, like they did every year, she called us and saying, "The children can't come. Teresa is taking care of me." Who is Teresa? I thought. She did not sound like herself. So I went several weeks later. She had forgotten the entire conversation. Pretty much she told me I was crazy. She was repeating herself and a whole lot of other strange things. However, she kept it moving. She was still functioning properly, driving, doing normal things that she normally does. I knew something was wrong, but I just couldn't figure out what it was. When I returned home from my visit with her, several months later, my aunt constantly called me saying, "You need to come and see about your mother. Something is wrong." My brother and I decided to take a trip to South Carolina to see what my aunt was talking about. When we got there, we realized my aunt's concerns. My mother was a mess. Her hair was matted. She was disheveled. The house was untidy. She continued to repeat herself over and over and over again. That just was not her. After multiple conversations about what was going on with her, in which we still didn't know, and numerous visits, but our last visit to her really put the ball in rolling. She almost blew the house up with all of us in it. That was the time when we decided, no, she could no longer live by herself. So it was decided that she would move back with me to Maryland into my home because I had the space and I had another room where I could convert into her bedroom. Our thinking was she had taken care of us all these years, all of our life. Now it was our turn, mainly me, to take care of her. We still did not understand what was going on and why her behavior was changing. The doctor in South Carolina was horrible. Misdiagnosis, uncaring, untruthful, giving her medicines for illnesses she did not have. My mother was not diagnosed with Alzheimer's until I moved her to Maryland. The doctor that was referred to me was awesome. He took her through every test you could imagine until he had a diagnosis, possibly Alzheimer's. He sent her to a neurologist to confirm his diagnosis. Healthy woman, no other illnesses except her brain was deteriorating. We believed that she actually had the disease about 4 or 5 years prior to her diagnosis. Throughout the years, my mother's behavior worsened. This disease took this vibrant, humble, loving woman to a drama queen. Her behavior changed from this kind, easygoing woman to a fist fighter, combative, feisty, stubborn, crying spells, laughing spells at times, then sundown syndrome, and so much more. I was on a roller coaster ride for 7 years, not knowing what to expect next. I could not have done this without God and the help of my brother and my children. Working full-time and coming home to deal with her, honestly, I was stressed out and exhausted. I struggled with putting her into a nursing home, but I was quickly reminded of my commitment to take care of her. God guided me the entire time, even though when I did not know it. Although my mother exhibited all the behaviors of the gems, she was then a pearl, which was the last state of dementia. Alzheimer's deteriorated her brain and her body. Towards the end, she could no longer eat, walk, or talk. She basically went back to an infant, and her body contracted into the fetal position. After her passing, I struggled because I didn't know what to do. I had taken care of her all these years, and that's all I thought I knew. I realized I had not taken care of myself, and it was time for me to take care of me. I started eating better, tried to exercise several times a week, focused on brain health, stayed socially engaged in joining First Baptist Church of Glenarden's Alzheimer's support group, and also continued to staying active doing other things, constantly going to Bible study and so forth. God also had other plans for me. Since caring for my mother, I had also cared for 3 other people who had other illnesses. God also prompted me to write about my journey. It took me 9 years to write this journey. My book, Laughing to Keep from Crying, This Alzheimer's Thing Is No Joke, delves into what me and my family went through as we took care of my mother. It provides lessons that I learned throughout this journey, tips, and also other resources. My book was turned into a play in the year 2019. The play was called Laughing in Spite Of. It was performed several times throughout the Prince George's County area. The play was also recently turned into a DVD. My desire is to educate people about the ups and downs of this dreadful disease and how it affects loved ones and their family. Alzheimer's is no joke. However, trust God and allow Him to guide your every step. I am so blessed to have been connected to Irma, Shonda, and Vicki. We have the same mission, to educate and to find a cure for Alzheimer's. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosalind, for that moving story of your mom and your journey. It was truly amazing. And now we're going to have our next presenter, Vanessa Hooker. Vanessa is a caregiver. She's an advocate. She's a member of the First Baptist Support Group and a member of Picket Fences Support Group. And also, she's a close friend. Now, Vanessa.
Thank you, Irma. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share my mom's story. I am a caregiver and an advocate for my 83-year-old mother, Miss Vivian Goldman. And she is the absolute love of my life. Growing up, Mom was very independent, strong-willed, and she always spoke her mind. As a single parent, Mom worked hard to raise my brother and I. My mom, like so many others, is the cornerstone of our family. She's very loving, kind, and generous, always remembering birthdays, graduations, and anniversaries with a card. However, eventually the cards stopped as Mom's memory began to fail. In 2009, we started to notice changes in Mom, like repeating herself, repeating her sentences over and over and asking repetitive questions. This was just not like her. And since we were somewhat familiar with Alzheimer's disease, we decided to have Mom seen by her doctor and screened for dementia. And in 2010, we received the diagnosis that Mom had mild cognitive impairment. After this diagnosis, I don't think I really realized the impact the disease had on me. You know, I could be strong for Mom, but deep down, I was devastated. I thought it was the end, and I thought it was a curse and a punishment from God. I was just not happy about it. You see, I felt Mom had worked so hard all her life raising us. She cared for my grandmother as she got older, and now a diagnosis of dementia? How could God allow this to happen? Mom deserved to have a life and to be happy. Little did I know this was just the beginning. And like it or not, this was the way it was going to be. But God had so much more in store for Mom on this journey. God has shown me that life can be fun, that you can still laugh, have joy, and be happy in spite of the diagnosis. Mom is the same person, she's just different. So for the next 6 years, from 2010 to 2016, Mom lived in her home while I made all arrangements for services in the home. Managing Mom was difficult because her mental capacity was slowly declining, but she was adamant about her independence. A once vibrant, independent woman was changing, and neither she nor I could control the situation. This often made Mom hard to handle. One of the challenges I faced was Mom was getting lost while driving, and she refused to give me her car keys in spite of the doctor's recommendation. On one occasion, after a visit with her sister, Mom was unable to find her way back home. She called my aunt and told her she was lost and she needed directions. My aunt was very surprised at this and asked her where she was. And Mom said, "Well, I think I'm in front of your house." So my aunt explained to her where she was and where she needed to go to get home. And I mean, by God's grace and only God's grace, Mom was able to make it back home. This was a very frightening experience because if Mom had gotten lost, the outcome could have been very serious. On another occasion, Mom got lost at a gas station on a rainy night, and she couldn't find her way back home. Fortunately, she called me and told me she was lost. So I asked her a few questions about her surroundings and the name of the gas station. From her description, I knew exactly where she was because it wasn't far from home and it was a gas station she had been to many times in the past. I asked her to wait right there as I came to meet her. Again, with God's grace, she didn't leave and she waited for me. So a few more times of Mom getting lost, she finally realized she could no longer handle driving, and she turned her keys over to me. And I was so relieved. I was just so relieved because we had won that battle of the car keys. In the beginning phase of this journey, Mom was a sapphire, as we learned in the previous session on the gems. Mom was aging normally. She was flexible, organized, and living her life independently. However, over the last 10 years, Mom has gracefully moved into the stages of through the stages of the gems and is now a ruby. Mom has trouble visually figuring out images. She struggles with her speech. However, her ability to chew is good because she loves to eat. Mom's large motor skills are intact because she loves clapping her hands and tapping her feet to her favorite gospel music. She is strong, and with some assistance, she can lift herself up to get around. Mom has changed through the stages of the disease, but she is thriving and doing well. She enjoys music, crafts, jigsaw puzzles, and bingo. Her communication has declined, but she still knows my name. In 2009, our family celebrated Mom's 83rd birthday, and God has allowed her to see 5 generations. The Lord has made what I thought was a curse a blessing, and I am so grateful for how He has mapped out Mom's journey. I am content now because I know Mom is okay. I am able to focus more on my health by eating right, drinking plenty of water, and getting my exercise. I spend more time in prayer and reading my Bible. I stay in contact with family, friends, and my church. I'm a member of 2 support groups, the First Baptist Church of Glenarden for 6 years, and Picket Fences for 1.5 years. And I am so thankful for Miss Vicki Kalitzi, Miss Shonda Bellamy, and my friend Irma Nicholson for the love and support they have shown me. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa, for that moving story of your mom. You can tell the love is there. And now I'm going to share my story and my husband. I am a caregiver and an advocate for my husband, Oswald, aka Mark Nicholson, who is 78 years old. His journey is not the normal journey of someone with Alzheimer's. Mark's temperament is upbeat. He loves family and friends. Mark's favorite thing to do is to come to church every Sunday and go to Walmart every Wednesday to shop for his favorite things, hot dogs, cookies, and soda. He loves music. He loves to try to dance, but most of all, he loves to try to make jokes, and he's the only one that's laughing. Mark's story is one of love. Mark started off as a sapphire. And as Vicki discussed in the previous series, a sapphire gem is a brain that's aging normally, is flexible, and organized. But in the early 2000s, Mark was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma cancer. But to God's glory, he was healed from that cancer. In 2005, Mark had a stroke, and God again allowed him to recover with minimal damage. In 2007 is when Mark started his journey into Alzheimer's. I started noticing that he was repeating himself over and over again. He was forgetting where he put his keys, his wallet. He was forgetting familiar places of going to shop and family outing. This was happening so frequently that I made an appointment with his primary physician. And upon going to the primary physician, they did the standard test. The test of asking, who's the president? What year? And 3 familiar words. And at the end of the examination, they would ask you those words back. But when the exam finished, he asked Mark those words and he couldn't remember. But Mark wanted to tell a joke. The primary physician had asked me to the primary physician had advised me to take him to see a neurologist, which I did. And he did an assessment, and he advised me to have an MRI of his brain done, and later it was diagnosed that he had early stage of Alzheimer's. I had an idea that Mark had some memory problems, but to hear the doctor say that he was diagnosed with early on-stage Alzheimer's, I tell you, I was devastated. I was upset. I was in a state of total denial. I didn't want to believe it, even though the signs were all there. I began worrying about how was I going to take care of him and myself. But with the grace of God, we have been living each day with a little bit of laughter, some sorrow, but overall joy. At this point, Mark is a diamond. And as Vicki discussed in Series 3, a diamond is still clear and sharp. It has become increasingly rigid. That means it won't bend. Diamonds do not do well with change, but are still very much able to shine. And if anyone met Mark, they know that he loves to shine wherever he goes. A lot of people that meet Mark for the first time might not think that he has Alzheimer's, because for the first couple of minutes, he can have a conversation with you, and then you begin to see the signs. We have lived this life, and we love the way that Mark is doing. To most people, Mark is not, he don't look at anyone as being a stranger. Mark has his routine, and every day those routines are the same. And I have learned to live my life around his routine. The stigma and the shame of this disease made me in a state of denial that I didn't want to share with anyone except for my close friends and family. But I have learned to listen to God's voice and be obedient to his voice. It was one Sunday at church, God had told me, the Holy Spirit said, Irma, you need to talk to someone. And you know, we love to go to the 8 o'clock service every Sunday. And Mark would do his generally usual thing when he would walk in. He would greet the ushers and he would just shake their hands and say, good morning. Have you guys have a good week? And they would laugh and joke with him. And then he would come down to where the senior group in the back of the church, and he would speak to them. And it was all the joy that each one of them would give to him. The people did not look at Mark as having Alzheimer's. They looked at him as being a person who was loving. And as we would make our area down to where we generally sit, it was between the deaf ministry and Pastor Jenkins on the third row, because Mark believed that that third row was where he was supposed to sit. And if he was not in that particular third row, he would wonder why I had to move. But that was him. I tell you, that particular Sunday, again, God said, Irma, you need to talk to someone. And I didn't listen. So the music was playing, and Mark loved the music, and he was snapping his fingers, moving his shoulder, and service was beginning to start. And again, Mark was just loving that music, and he just reached over and he whispered in my ear, do you want to dance? And I tried to pat him on his thigh to say, stop. But he kept doing it. And I just tried to ignore him. But you know what? God was telling me, Irma, you need to share. But again, I didn't listen. But I tell you that following Sunday, the same thing was happening. You know, we come in and Mark would do his greeting and we would go to our seat. And the Holy Spirit said again, Irma, you need to share. That Sunday, I responded to God's voice. Reverend Gentry, who generally sits in the row in front of us, I asked her if I could meet with her that week. And she said, of course. I met with Reverend Gentry, and that as walking into her office, she stopped me and she said, let's pray. As Reverend Gentry was praying, I could feel some of the burden that I had been carrying being lifted off of my shoulder. I told her what the doctor had said and how devastated I was feeling, and I didn't know what to do. At that time, she told me, she said, well, Irma, I don't know much about Alzheimer's, but I will see what I can do to help you. I tell you, when I left Reverend Gentry's office, I tell you, there was a sense of calmness about me. I tell you, the sense of being devastated was being gone. Reverend Gentry that week started emailing me information about Alzheimer's. And she also connected with me with Reverend Sylvia Taylor, who was over the Dorcas ministry, which I joined. And I learned by joining that ministry and being connected with Reverend Sylvia Taylor, it was in September of 2014 when Reverend Taylor said that First Baptist was going to start an Alzheimer's support group with the Alzheimer's support organization. And let me tell you, that was great news. Over a period of time, our support group grew gradually due to the fact that it was being listed on the Alzheimer's website and by word of mouth. It was a meeting place that you could come and you could share. You know, regardless to what you was going through, and really, unless you are going through Alzheimer's and you are with someone who's dealing with Alzheimer's, you can tell the good, the bad, the ugly. You can just express how you're feeling, and there's no shame about how you feel. And I tell you, you will hear other caregivers' stories, you will get resources, and you know what? You would leave there knowing that you are not alone. And that's the whole point of this series, is to let caregivers know that you are not alone. And anyone that thinks that they may have Alzheimer's, you are not alone. Since 2007, Mark has had a couple more strokes and he has had seizures. And again, God's amazing grace have allowed him to come out of those with minimum damage. Mark is now sometimes a diamond and sometimes he's an emerald. But I can see a part of him and his personality being taken away from him each day. I tell you that if you know anything about Alzheimer's, you know there's not a cure. It is the 6th leading cause of death in America, and over 5.8 million people have Alzheimer's. But you know what? Mark has a lot of joy in his story. Mark rededicated his life to Christ. Now let me tell you, that's great news. Mark has seen his great-granddaughter being born. He has seen his granddaughter graduate from high school in Chicago. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, he would have seen her graduate this year from college. Mark loved to go to picnics. He loved going to parties, birthday parties, reunion, and he watched his great nephew win a basketball tournament. As far as for me, my journey through Alzheimer's had made me become an advocate for him and other people who have Alzheimer's and they don't know what to do about this dreadful disease. I have learned from Vicki and from Shonda not to look at what Mark has lost, but what he still has. He has joy, he has laughter, and most of all, he has God. Mark's favorite thing to say is his quote, I don't have Alzheimer's. I have good timers. And you know what? For him, it is good. Through this support group, we have formed an Alzheimer's support group walk. It's called the Power of Love. And God gave me that name, the Power of Love, because he said it was going to be his power and our love for our loved ones to get us through this. Over the last 5 years, our walk team has been in the top 3, except for last year. We were #1 in PG County for raising the most funds to help find a cure for this dreadful disease. I tell you, from sharing and having friends, family to walk, it is a sense of empowerment. It is a sense that we someday, and hopefully soon, will find a cure for this disease. Mark and my story have been featured numerous times in the Alzheimer's newsletter. And last year, our story was featured in the Prince George's Post for a Valentine love story. And let me tell you, we do have a love story. Through this support group, I have recruited 21 advocates from PG County to go to Annapolis to help legislate for more funding for Alzheimer's. I have become an ambassador to go to Annapolis to help find and help fight for a cure for this disease. I've been able to get through this journey because of God's grace, his love for me, and for my sister, Namia Young, Barbara Washington, Romaine Branford, and Early Armstrong, along with our family, close friend, and support group. I take care of myself by doing daily devotional. And I tell you, you know what? That keeps me grounded. God keeps me grounded. I have learned to do more exercise and try to eat healthy. I tell you, the journey has allowed me to become more compassionate. It has allowed me, through this compassionate, to give more perseverance, because that's what God gives us, more perseverance. And through that, it has built my character. And you know what? Character gives you hope. And you know what? Hope does not disappoint. This hope is that Alzheimer's will come out of the darkness into the light. We hope that these series have inspired you, uplifted you, educated you, and helped you find support and resources to live each day. I personally want to thank Reverend Belinda Gentry, who's the head of the mission department of First Baptist, Shauna Bellamy of Picket Fences, and Vicki Kalinsky of Visiting Angels for making this possible. To God be the glory. Alzheimer's 2020, the power of love. And I tell you, I want to share this little video about my husband and the way that he feels about Alzheimer's and how he loves to dance.
Hello, everybody. I don't have Alzheimer's, I got good timers. And it's nice to hear you say I do have good timers. Bye.
Thank you.